Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to regular show episodes 5 and 6. So yeah, we're on 2 more episodes this week. I was originally going to do more, but my dad is actually taking the day off because he needed to get a new car. His car is pretty much dead. It won't start, and it's just been having a lot of troubles. It has no heat. So he just left. My mother's giving him a ride, so he's going to go get a new car. I don't know when he'll be back, but I'm like getting to recording this while he's gone. So yeah. There's not really much to talk about in where this show has gone so far, or where I think it might go, because it's episodic. It's one of those shows that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have an ongoing plot. The only thing I can really see that will be ongoing, that might like come back into the future, is the one girl, the one girl that Mordecai likes. I definitely think she'll be coming back in the future. I definitely think there's going to be an ongoing thing with him trying to impress her, trying to date her. I mean, that's likely where it's going to go, I feel. I mentioned before, like in my first reaction, or before that, or somewhere in there, that I do know little bits of this show, and I do know that Rigby eventually gets a girlfriend, and that actually it's supposedly a very good relationship. I don't know all the details behind it. I just know that apparently it does happen. But I'm kind of hoping that maybe Mordecai gets one too. Hopefully a relationship can actually help them grow and mature a bit, because they are very immature. But so far, I do like the show's just general style and how it handles things. Not every episode is great, of course. Not every episode's going to be gonna knock it out of the park. But I'm still hoping for good things for the future. So that being said, let's just get into it. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, yeah, continuing off of my freak out from the reaction, Tim freaking Curry. Like, holy shit. Like, I mean, he's done voice acting stuff before. He has. But it's like, I mean, he was Nigel in The Wild Thornberrys. He was in Beauty and the Beast Enchanted Christmas. He's done voice acting stuff before. So it's not like it's a surprise that he's doing the voice acting here. It's just I didn't expect him in this. You know, and I mean, don't get me wrong. This show already has a huge name in it with Mark Hamill. But still, it's like, I don't know, it didn't occur to me. It just did not occur to me. So I think that's why I wasn't sure at first when I heard his voice. It's like when I was first hearing him, especially when he's revealed to be evil. Like at that point, that's when it started to get a little more obvious. But that's why when it was first revealed and all, he starts like talking. It's like that's why I'm thinking, like, who is that? Because I'm not gonna think that that's Mark or that's Tim fucking Curry. Like, why would that cross my mind? That's not gonna be like my first thought on who that would be. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, oh, I know that voice. Who is that? I'm thinking it's probably someone else I've seen in other cartoons. And, well, I mean, it was, but still. Oh, that's amazing, though. Like, seriously, as I was saying, though, I love Tim Curry. I love pretty much everything I've seen him in. He's always amazing. And it's just fantastic. The fact that he played an evil hot dog is hilarious. Like, that alone is just fantastic. And honestly, it's something he would do. From what I've heard from people who have actually met him at, like, conventions and stuff, he's actually a really fun guy to be around. He's just really fun, really funny. He's just, like, extremely just... He likes to he just likes to enjoy life and stuff, and he'll have fun with his fans and stuff. He'll joke around with them. So it's like, it seems like something he would do. Again, from what I've heard, I don't know for sure, but it seems like something he would do, and I'd believe it, honestly. I mean, he's just such a awesome actor, and but let's actually talk about these 2 episodes. So the first one, Skip's birthday. Skip's is a character who's probably one of the more likable ones right now. Benson is a little too forgiving of Mordecai and Rigby a lot of the time, and because of that, he puts a little too much faith in them a lot, and because of that, he kind of bothers me a little bit. Not that he's a bad character or anything otherwise, it's just, it bothers me that he's so trusting of them, despite everything they seem to do. The fact that in the second episode he trusted Rigby with the hot dogs and stuff, it's just like, why would you do that? And of all the other characters, it's like, not that I hate the other characters or anything, but it's like Mordecai and Rigby, yeah, they'd never be my favorites. Pops is close just because he's so innocent and nice and just extremely lovable. Like, he's the epitome of a lovable idiot archetype. And I've always kind of been into those kind of characters, let's be honest. Especially when they're done right. And I think Pops is done right. He's not stupid for the sake of being stupid. He actually just seems like he's a lovable idiot. Like, he's not harmful. He's not like Patrick from SpongeBob. Oh my gosh, I despise Patrick from SpongeBob. I hate SpongeBob in general, but I despise Patrick as a character because he's dangerous. I mean, shit, some of the stuff I'm not even going to get into that. But the point is, of all the characters, I think Skips is one of my favorites because he seems to have the best head on his shoulders. He seems to be the smartest, the most forward-thinking, and one of the most interesting. Like, he's a Sasquatch who gets around by, well, literally skipping, hence the name. He's voiced by Mark Hamill. He has this almost sarcastic, sardonic personality to him. And now we find out more about him in this episode, that every year on his birthday, he kind of becomes very secluded. And we find out it's because he's made this pact for eternal youth. I really hope that comes back at some point and we find out a lot more of the details about that. So he's made this pact with these, like, galactic babies, basically, to get eternal youth. And presumably, he's been living for a long fucking time. Because you saw, like, when that eternal youth was taken away from him, he was turning into dust. His body was decomposing at a rapid pace. Which, in all of these kind of scenarios, when you have the eternal youth thing taken away, that's what happens if they've lived that long. They will revert to the age they're supposed to be. Meaning, Skips would be exceptionally old. And him reverting to that age would basically be him decomposing into death. And it's like, that is dark. Very dark. And I've said before, I actually really like it when a show can incorporate dark themes and ideas in a very, like, fitting way for the show. Like, when it feels like it's natural to the content of the show and doesn't come out of nowhere, that's when I like it. And it doesn't have to be like Courage the Cowardly Dog, where dark themes and stuff are a constant part of the show, where the show is centered around that stuff. But, like, when a show isn't centered around that and can incorporate these darker themes, here's a good example. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender definitely does have some darker themes, but it never goes really dark until the Puppet Master, which is my favorite episode of Avatar, by the way. The Puppet Master is like, if you were to count the other dark stuff from the series on a scale, it'd be a 1 compared to the Puppet Master being a 10. And that's, I'm not saying that the other stuff from the show isn't dark. Like, I mean, the fact that the Air Nation was killed in genocide by the Fire Nation, and Aang had to deal with that. That's dark, yes. I'm not saying that by putting it at 1 on a scale is like I'm saying it's not valid and it's not dark. I'm just saying in comparison, if the blood bending and stuff that we saw in the Puppet Master was a 10, the other stuff would be a 1 just by comparison. That's all I'm saying. Because the Puppet Master really, it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere, though. It felt like it was a natural progression of water bending. It's like, yeah, water makes up most of our bodies. Water is in our blood. So it makes sense that blood bending would be a progression of, water bending. Just like with earth bending, a progression of that would be metal bending, which we see in the series. So it's like, I'm just saying, it makes sense, but it's still a very, very dark turn for the series to have taken. Which is why that episode is kind of almost seen as a Halloween episode for Avatar. And then you have this, and it's kind of a similar thing. It's like a really dark theme. Like, the concept of death is done in a lot of cartoons these days. Let's be honest. But showing that kind of decomposition is extremely disturbing and hard to watch. Like, especially for a character who otherwise is actually a pretty likable character. Like, it's like, he's not really done anything to make him annoying or unlikable or anyone you would hate. So, seeing him decompose like that in a really kind of graphic way, almost reminding me of Indiana Jones. When they open the Ark of the Covenant and the guy's face melts off, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit, just in the graphic detail of how it looked. Obviously, it was different from a face melting, but still. It just struck me as really dark. And I really like that, though. It was done well, and it felt like it fit in. I mentioned it during this, and this is kind of how this show centers around its episodes. I've been talking about pretty much the entire series, every reaction, and I'll probably keep talking about it. The formula that this show has with its episodes is an ordinary situation, a regular situation that ends in an extraordinary circumstance. With this first episode here, they're trying to get cake. Mordecai and Rigby, they want cake. Chocolate cake specifically, but just cake in general. And they're trying to get the cake for, eventually, for Skip's birthday. And so, in order to get the cake, they want to throw this party for Skip's, and basically for their own desires as well. But I do think that they care about Skip's. Like, I don't think they're, like, heartless or anything. So they're trying to get Skip's to agree to this party and stuff. And yeah, it's just, it gets out of hand when they find out Skip's is doing this magical ritual, ends up summoning this, like, rock god, like, dude in a pickup truck, which was fantastic, by the way. I love that moment. and he takes them to this, like, galactic spiritual plane of existence, basically. And it's like, that's just fantastic. And I love how when the babies, the galactic baby guys, I don't remember what they were called, but I love how when they got the cake, they were just smearing it on them. That is a nice touch. I really like that, because babies do that. I mean, I did that for sure. I know my sister did. I don't remember if my brother ever did that. I actually just don't remember. But yeah, it's like babies do that. It just felt like a really nice touch, and I like how they pointed it out, too. But they saved Skip's, and they went back, and the party kind of just went ahead as normal. And then the second episode, so they're having a barbecue. An ordinary circumstance. They're just doing something regular, like having a barbecue. It's going to be a great barbecue, because Benson has ordered these special hot dogs offline. Which, it's like, why would you order food offline? I don't get that. Like, if you're going to go get some good food, if you're going to order it offline, make sure it's a reputable place. Like, if you're ordering it from a food delivery service. And maybe he did. Maybe he did. But it's like, just the fact that he said he ordered them offline was like, it's like, I mean, I guess they were just normal, like, good hot dogs, though. I assume. I mean, that's the only thing we really can assume at this point. Um, but yeah, he stupidly trusts Rigby with them, and of course Rigby screws everything up. So he and Mordecai are going to go down to the meat cellar, try to get some more. Um, when down there, Rigby accidentally locks them in, and Mordecai is like freezing to death because, as I mentioned, he's a bird. And again, I don't know if this was intentional, but I could honestly believe at this point that it was. Rigby being able to last longer, being able to hold out, is because he's a mammal, and he has all that fur. Mammals, while a lot of mammals will hibernate, a lot of mammals will, of course, get cold. They can handle the cold weather better than other animals like birds or reptiles or what have you. That's why birds will fly south for the winter and stuff like that. They'll go to a warmer climate where they can survive. That's why you don't see a lot of birds around in the winter. I mean, so yeah, it makes sense that Mordecai would be more affected by the cold and why he would actually pass out from it and be having trouble quicker than Rigby would. I really want to believe that was intentional. So Rigby is taking him throughout this freezer, which is really freaking big for some reason. But they find the hot dogs, and there's a talking pack of hot dogs, because why the hell not? And they offer to get Mordecai and Rigby out of there as long as they're brought along too. And Rigby agrees because Mordecai's still unconscious. Or no, Mordecai does wake up. Okay, so he does wake up at that point, and they agree, and at that point, the hot dogs, I guess, summon this cooler, and they kind of exit back into the yard from there. Now, this part kind of confused me. It's like, the hot dogs summon the cooler, right? Could they only do that if the deal was made? I would have to presume so, because it's like, if they could summon that, they could have left at any time. So I can only assume that they could only summon that cooler to the outside if a deal was made to bring them out. That's the only thing I can assume at this point. So they get out there, the hot dogs turn on them, trap everybody, and Rigby basically has to save the day by squirting them with mustard and making them cannibalize each other. Yeah, I talked about how Skip's rapidly aging was extremely disturbing. So was this. The idea of cannibalism in any form, no matter what kind of creature or whatever in these cartoons it is, cannibalism is always creepy as hell to me. Especially when you're cannibalizing living beings. Like you're eating them while they're alive. That freaks me out, honestly. So it's like, I was really uncomfortable watching that when that happened. Because it's like, these are living beings being eaten by other living beings of the same kind. And it's like, oh, we taste delicious, and it's like, that's not okay. That's not okay. Let's just move on from that, though. There is one other thing I do want to talk about regarding this second episode, though, and Mordecai's dream. In Mordecai's dream, so he's dreaming about Margaret, his crush. Now, he's a blue jay. What is she? Is there such thing as a red jay? Or maybe she's a cardinal? I'm not entirely sure. Probably a cardinal. Because cardinals and blue jays kind of look a lot alike. I'm not, horribly, really familiar with bird species, but... So, in a previous episode, the one with the coffee bean and all, it showed Margaret in her concert gear, right? And it showed her from the side, and it showed her bra. And it showed that, of course, she did have, noticeable breast shaping. I thought that was pretty risky for a show marketed towards a younger audience to do. And I stand by that. Showing that a character has breasts, the form of breasts, is one thing. A lot of cartoons have done that. Powerpuff Girls, the original Powerpuff Girls, did that. Miss Bellum and Miss Keene both notably had breasts. I mean, obviously, it never showed any obnoxious level of detail, but still, you could tell they had breasts. And I think that's important to show in kids shows because it's like, yes, women have breasts. Well, a lot of the time. There are flat-chested women and trans women like me who don't naturally have breasts and need to wear breast forms and stuff. And then there's women who, of course, have breast cancer and stuff and have to get their breasts removed and whatnot. You get the point, though. People have breasts. It's a natural thing. And to show that in a cartoon is something we should be doing. But a lot of cartoons for a long time have strayed away from that, making even adult women look, well, not really like adult women look in the real world. And so whenever a show shows this kind of stuff, it's exciting to me because it's like, this is realistic representation. I presume Margaret is an adult. I mean, we know that Mordecai and Rigby are, so I presume Margaret's probably around the same age. So this is showing an adult woman having breasts, and it's showing her in this concert gear that shows off her bra. Like, that's a notable thing. It's like showing off undergarments in a risky fashion. You know what I mean? But then again, it goes with this one, and it shows her in a bathing suit, a two-piece bathing suit, with very notable cleavage. And it's like, yes, more of this. It's risky to show this kind of stuff. There's a lot of shows that even today still won't show this kind of stuff. But I like it when shows can and do. Because it's like, it's realistic. It's just realistic. People have breasts. Cis women, a lot of trans women have breasts thanks to HRT. Trans men, a lot of them still have breasts before getting them removed if they do. And, yeah. It's just, people have breasts, and it's important to show that. I know it may seem weird I'm focusing on this, but it's just like, I like, even shows that are so goofy and obviously unrealistic like this one, I like to have some semblance of realistic, just realism. I like it to have some semblance of that. And again, that's just something I always want in a show, especially a cartoon geared towards children. I want it to show realistic bodies. I want to see people having breasts. I obviously don't want to see them flaunting them all over the place or stripping or anything, but I just want them to be there for that realism. I want to see different body shapes and sizes, like She-Ra is doing. I want to see that kind of stuff. Because it makes it feel more connected, you know? Even these shows that are really different and really, out there, we want some semblance of connection. Because if it's too disconnected from reality, then there's nothing for us to grasp onto to really connect to. And we need that connection in order for a show to, well, in my opinion at least, to truly hook us in. If it's too realistic, then it's like, why bother? It's just too much realism. If it's too out of the ordinary, if it's too unrealistic, then it's just, there's nothing to connect to. When you can combine those, when you have that blend, taking unrealism in a lot of ways, but having some kind of realistic connection, it just feels a lot more complete, you know? That's all I'm trying to say with this. Either way, these two episodes were pretty darn good. I enjoyed both of these. I really like just the concept of them. I like the writing behind them. The only thing I really didn't like about either of these is how Rigby still, especially Rigby, but Rigby and Mordecai in the more general sense, but especially Rigby, there's still not a lot of comeuppance being given. Yeah, it's just like all these terrible things are being done, and it's like you're not getting your comeuppance for them. You're not getting what you should be getting. You should not be just getting away with all of this. Yet you are, and it's annoying. I talked about before how I really don't like that when characters get away with bad actions, that they just get off completely scot-free. I hate that. I hate that so badly. And I really do hope at some point all of this is going to come back and bite Rigby in the ass. I really do. If that's what it's working towards, if it's going to be like all of this stuff kind of building up against Rigby to the point where it kind of explodes at some point, and it's just like this massive punishment for everything that's happened in the past, I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with that if they do it right. But it has to get to that point, and until then, I will still kind of be annoyed by this. I will still be annoyed by the fact that he keeps getting away with all of this. And again, especially Rigby, but Mordecai too, to a sense. Mordecai is agreeing with Rigby on a lot of this, and though he is definitely more mature than Rigby, he's definitely not completely mature. He definitely has a lot of immaturity to him. And I mean, a lot of us do. Most of us do. Most of us have some immaturities in certain ways, in certain aspects, in certain situations. But it's just like, he's definitely a lot more realistic in that sense than Rigby is. Rigby's just over-the-top immature. Like, that episode before with the entire Death Kwon Do thing. Yeah. But either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of these episodes of Regular Show. Just overall with this series, I'm actually really enjoying this series. I think it has just a fun formula to it, and I really like just the creative things they can do with it. But tell me your thoughts below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh another day.